Change Your Life Through Love, Stella Terrell Mann. Part 4, Chapter 12, To Heal, Prosper, and Lead the World. As this is being written, there is worldwide fear of a third world war. Guns roar over the Holy Land. Fear and hunger from the Second World War are still stalking the earth. Some of the authorities view with alarm the condition of humanity. In the previous chapters, we have been talking about changing our individual lives through learning the law of love and how to live within that law. But now the question arises, what about the world? What can you and I do as lone individuals to maintain our way of life in a world so seemingly hostile to love, so bent on hate, revenge, greed, and exploitation? We must take these festering little worries and attitudes out of our hearts and look at them one by one. Until we do, we shall find that our individual life-changing remains a very temporary affair. Remember that what we think about the world is part of our total attitude, which comprises the 3 steps in changing our lives: desires, actions, beliefs. So, let's look at our hidden thoughts and fears about the world and our fellow men in order to learn how to trust love to heal, prosper, and lead the world. In our secret hearts, we are saying, yes, we can change our own lives through love, but until enough other people far and near do likewise, how much good does it really do us? If we are not to use force with our brother, what can we do about those individuals at home who become alcoholics, who are always on relief in prison, fostering communism and strikes, crippling legislation, or who indulge in all manner of dishonest and unethical business procedures which make our dollars harder to earn and less secure once earned? How long must we put up with the spiritually illegal acts of others who have no desire and no intention of changing their way of life? How long must we tolerate such people who are either very much determined to change our way to theirs, or else content to remain helpless and harmful burden to society? And what about those abroad, we ask? If we are not to use force with our brother, can we do nothing to prevent the threatening wars of aggression or retaliation which bleed and impoverish those who want peace and are willing to maintain it? Must we slave to buy bread for the people who blackmail our hearts, for those who refuse to learn how to produce their own, or those who are so broken from wars or political enslavement that they cannot? And will our children and grandchildren after us inherit this burden? And thus we murmur. Now let us look at some truths. We can't enforce peace with show of guns. Standing armies, it has been proved, ruin a nation's morals and drain its resources. Europe has always had standing armies that always have become marching armies. For generations, Germany put their faith in military might. Look at her today, and look at what she has done to Europe. Treaties will not work. Men do what they intend to do, regardless of what they say. Desire for war always reduces treaties to mere scraps of paper. Yet war must cease, not only because the human race can no longer finance them, but because we now have the atomic bomb. The hope of saving one's own life by killing the enemy first has gone forever. If guns will not keep the peace and ensure our safety, what then? Money? Many good people believe that money will buy healing, peace, and safety for ourselves, and that used as a primer, it will start a pump of perpetual prosperity, which will enrich all men and permanently relieve others of the burden of helping their neighbors. Yet money in itself can do nothing. If money could have helped solve the ills of the world, surely Christ Jesus would have created and piled a mountain of minted gold in his day. Since he knew enough to produce a gold coin in the mouth of a fish to pay a troublesome tax, he surely could have produced enough gold to have created a new way of life for all men ever after. Or he would have taught the elect how to produce gold, for he announced that his purpose on earth was to help men to a free and more abundant life. Money of itself is no guarantee of health, happiness, or peace of mind. Where there is little happiness and no peace of mind, where hate and desire for revenge dwell, where there is no self-confidence, no brotherly love, no love of God, their ill health and desperation will preside, and all the money in the world cannot stop it. Evil begets evil after its kind. It is true that the feeling of financial insecurity and fear of hunger are at the root of many ills. It is also true that greed, selfishness, and refusal to live within the law of love breed fear of insecurity and create the very ills we dread. If fortunes were piled into the hands of most impoverished people at home, abroad, and around the world, they still would not be guaranteed peace of mind. Real help comes from the inside. The more self-respecting, God-loving, and neighbor-loving a man is, the less he wants help or charity from the outside. He wants a way of helping himself and will fight to the death for a way of life which will permit him to help himself. If that way is denied him and charity is offered instead, he is quite likely to bite the hand that feeds him. The man who will accept forever and give never is beyond help. He has refused to multiply himself by love. He has chosen not to be a part of evolution. So in any case, money alone often does more harm than good. It is not men, land, guns, or money that is needed to heal, prosper, and keep the world at peace. The thing needed is a knowledge of the nature of things, the will of God, a knowledge of the law of love, and willingness to live within it. Neither man nor things, but the intangibles of spirit are needed to bless the earth. Given those, the material things will be produced automatically. This production, however, cannot be done on a wholesale basis. Because all men have free will, it remains an individual affair. Living within the law of love alone will heal, bless, and prosper the world. This is the lesson millions at home and around the world must yet learn. Until they do learn it, there will continue to be wars, rumors of wars, famine, pestilence, and every manner of evil which results from man's ignorance of truth and his greed, hatreds, fears, aggressions, and desires for revenge. As long as a nation or a man lives contrary to the two great commandments of love, they will suffer. It is the law. It is the will of God, the way things are. It is life. Love alone can lead a man to more freedom, greater liberty of mind, body, and affairs, a more abundant life on every level. This is something which cannot be legislated. It cannot be poured into the minds of men as we pour water into a trough for thirsty cattle. We cannot force a man to desire good for his neighbor or to love another. We cannot force one man to treat another as a brother. We can but punish when he badly abuses his property or person. We cannot force, but we can teach. We can show him the advantage of himself in treating all men as his brothers. Teach him? How is he to learn? Through suffering. What hurts teaches. Through benefits. What pleases teaches. Through telling, showing. He will learn eventually because it is his nature to learn. Sooner or later, all men observe that there is only one safe way to fulfill their desires, and that is the way of love. Eventually, love will lead us away from exploiting our neighbors, away from race discrimination, greed, selfishness, and all other foolish attempts to get a good by setting an evil into motion. Without love, there can be no hope of earth, no promise of heaven. With love, the desire to promote the welfare of all men, we can build heaven on earth for all men. The one outstanding fact in the world today is that we can no longer frighten men into submission. Nations can no longer gobble up land and enslave natives into doing their will, for we now have the atomic bomb. Let one nation push another nation too far, and the third nation steps in for love or gain. There's only one way of peace left to the world, and that is the way of love. It is the most practical, economical, and satisfying way ever discovered, not only to keep peace in the heart of the individual, but in the hearts of all men the world over. Let us look now at an example of how it has proved practical in world affairs. For a long time, the Filipinos had been robbed and exploited by Spain, with the result that their country and their minds were undeveloped. The people had revolted time and again because love, or God at work in man, teaches him he has inborn right to freedom and that he cannot properly grow toward God without exercising that right. Since time began, his prerogative of liberty has revolted against the enslavement of man's God-given free will. It is still going on around the world and will eventually unseat every dictator and unveil every religious untruth. The leaders in the Philippines knew these truths, so they continued to revolt. When the United States of America took over the job of protecting the Filipinos in 1898, she went there with the intention of love. She found the people about 95% illiterate. She sent some 20,000 school teachers there in the space of 44 years and reversed the situation. Today, the people there are only about 5% illiterate. The Americans taught their brown neighbors how to plant, reap, and increase their food supply. They brought in medicine and built hospitals and schools. They truly desired to promote the welfare of these people. That was love at work. Did it pay off? Well, the Filipinos saved their white brothers' lives in World War II and remained loyal to America and the Allies through bonds of love. Some of the other great nations of the world have not seen fit to serve their neighbor with love. Just south of the Philippines lie the Dutch East Indies. For 3 centuries under Dutch control, the people of these islands are still only about 5% literate. The pattern of exploitation, domination, and greed, rather than love at work, has scarred the face of earth and embittered man's hearts for centuries. We see the unhappy results the world over today. Surely no one who is familiar with history was surprised to find most of the Oriental colonials remaining either bitterly neutral or turning traitor to the Allies in the World War II. Exploitation sows hate and a desire for revenge. Love alone begets love. Not only must individuals learn to love or perish, but so must nations. The way to keep a mighty empire from breaking up is not only to put more love to work within the empire, to promote the welfare of its subjects, but to repeat the pattern of love at work in all its dealings with all peoples the world over. Men will eventually see the folly of their ways and turn to helping their neighbor instead of exploiting him as the best means of enriching their own pockets and protecting their own lives. But will they turn to love in time? How much love is needed and how much is there already at work in the world? How many people already believe in good for all as a way of life? Is it a majority or a minority? And what are the chances of love keeping the peace of the world? Let's look at some facts. Never before in the history of the world have there been so many people trying to live a life of brotherly love, of good for all men. Many of these people have come to the Christian way of life not through feelings of religion fervor, love of God, but because they have seen the grim necessity of it as a way of ensuring their own lives and fortunes. They have caught a glimpse of truth, the established principles Jesus was talking about. When they have grown a little higher in moral consciousness, they will continue to live in love as the result of a joy and peace that transcends all definition. In the meantime, we can trust the Spirit of love, God, to continue to work in the hearts of men everywhere. Consider the following. 79 million Christians in the United States alone. One group of them, the Methodists, who number about 8 million, operate around the world totally solely in labors of love with the honest intent of promoting the welfare of God's plan for the progressive good of all men. They go to release men's minds from ignorance, to help their neighbor find God, to teach him spiritual laws and how to live within them. They take their teachers, schools, medicine, and their show-how with them. They seek to liberate, not to dominate. They seek to build, not to exploit. They take love and find love waiting. These good Methodists decided on a crusade for Christ a few years ago and have since been collecting and spending millions of dollars around the world in works of love. They are exchanging beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, and praise for bitterness, not only in the war-torn countries, but in all countries. They are building schools and churches, helping individuals and groups, telling the story of Christian living and teaching the law of love. Add to the efforts of the Methodists, only one denomination, the efforts of countless others, and you will get a very heartening picture of love at work. We cannot mention them all here, but we must mention one other, that of the Unity School of Christianity, which sends tons of free literature around the world. This reading matter goes to some 77 foreign countries. It is sent free into prisons, institutions of all kinds, schools for the blind, and wherever a request is made. The expense of all this is supported by free will offerings, love money. The American Bible Society has been distributing Bibles for 132 years. During the year 1947, this society shipped into Japan a total of 1,547,079 copies of the New Testament, plus 747,594,000 Bible excerpts and 14,190 complete Bibles. To appreciate that love is at work as never before. Compare those figures with these. Previous to World War II, the distribution of scripture into Japan only averaged between 140,000 and 150,000 per year. That comparison demonstrates the growth of love at work in the hearts of men. Around the world, men are hungry for Christ's truth, and Isaiah's prophecy that the government shall be upon his shoulder is being fulfilled. Aside from our long-recognized Orthodox churches which are at work around the world, there are hundreds of truth and new thought movements not so well known to many, with churches and centers throughout the world. There, one objective is to tell the story of Christ, the fatherhood of God, the brotherhood of man, and the power of love with the intention of helping others to understand and live accordingly. It should give our faith and love a tremendous uplift to know that there are also some 3 million truth students in Japan. If your faith needs further bolstering, then be sure to read Our Roving Bible by Dr. Lawrence E. Nelson, Director of the Division of Languages and of Graduate Studies at the University of Redlands, California. You will discover the fact that there are more people reading the Bible today and that more Bibles are being printed than ever before in its history. But are we in time? Can we persuade those who, for selfish reasons of their own, will not help to heal and educate the world through love as a means of helping themselves? Can God be mocked? That is the only question. All else is mere repetition. Long before we were on earth to worry and wonder, love was at work in man, leading him ever toward God. Long after we are gone, love will still be at work. Our children and grandchildren are perfectly safe just as long as they too trust the spirit of love and choose to work with it. Not all the world of evil put together can truly harm those who work with God. Jesus said, "What is that to thee? Follow thou me." We need not worry about those who refuse to work. Jesus warned what the end of those would be. They cannot harm us. They can but harm themselves. So we come down to our answer. The way to trust the spirit of love to lead, heal, and prosper the world is to cast out our own doubts and fears of its ability and intention to do so. There is no better way to do this than to become active in a work of love either locally or around the world. We are working for or against love every time we think, give an opinion, voice a desire, or commit an act. We are working for or against world good every time we listen to our radio or read our newspaper. For when we do, we respond for or against love, the good of the world and ourselves. The trouble is, we forget that we put forces into motion every time we speak, every time we accept an opinion. We shall not worry about world conditions if we live our lives at home as we should. Let us send our prayers of love out to the world, and then, with the confidence of a child, really trust the spirit of love to heal, prosper, guide, and help the world. Let us remember that love is alive in the hearts of good men and women around the world. Let us remember that love never fails. Love had the first word when God said, "Let there be." Love shall have the last word as to the fate of man. If we will tithe our time, our money, and our talents, trust and work with love, we shall have no real cause for worry. We must work. We must speak out for a better world. We must let our own light shine. Wherever we see desires expressed, deeds done, and beliefs stated which are contrary to the law of love, we must protest with love. And we must know that our lone voice will carry weight. For when we speak up for love, we are representing God. In addition to acting alone, we must join our individual force with the organized forces for good. Oh yes, love is still in charge regardless of how many strutting dictators with hobnailed boots and blood on their hands are bent on restricting and destroying the rest of the world for their own evil ends. Let them shout, rattle their sabers, and stalk the earth. Let them brag and threaten. The spirit of love in the hearts of free men who have found God and who know the power of love will stop them. Churches and schools are still being built. Books are still being written and bought. Hope is alive. Prayers are answered. Let us daily remember that there is a spirit of goodness in the very air of the world and in the heart of every man. It is the great infinite spirit of God which is all love. This spirit desires good for all mankind and works earnestly to promote that good. This spirit cannot be killed in the heart of one man by the threats, disinterest, or ignorance of another man. God is not mocked. But God can be refused. Each man has free will and can kill or nourish the spirit of good within him. Everywhere, an increasing number of men are listening to the voice of God. For only one example, on my desk at this moment are 16 recent letters from Germany, all of which bear out this contention, and there are others from around the world, including Japan. The spirit of goodness has prevailed throughout time. It has always led men forward. It took him out of caves. For generations it has been at work persuading man to stop killing his brother as a means of enriching his own life. We learn as a race, for here and there an individual listens, learns, and hastens to point the good way to others. We have almost learned it does not pay to take up arms against our fellow men. Presently, we shall see it does not pay to take up words, laws, or deeds against them. The greatest strides will come when we work on the spiritual plane and see that we must have no desires against them. No desires against our fellow men. That day is coming. We are learning the full implication of Jesus' word when he said, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. Once we come to a three-way method of improving life, the physical, mental, and spiritual way of promoting our own welfare and the welfare of all men, we can at last be called true sons of God. Before that, we are only hopeful and trusting candidates who are children of God like all men, but not yet coming of spiritual age. But listen, the war drums are already beating. Do I hear you say? Oh yes, I hear them. But hark now, there is another sound, a rhythmic beating that is lower, faster. That is what I am listening to. It is the sound of the human heart beating out a rhythm of love, a song of God alive in man. That is what you too should listen for, my friend. For love is on the march as never before in the history of the world. It is marching all over the world, creating safety, beauty, and good everywhere for all men. It is marching 24 hours a day. Change your own life through love, and you will have joined that army. By changing your own life, you help to change the world for the better. Let us put our trust in God's desire for our welfare, His love and ability to maintain us and the whole universe. Let us live all our waking hours desiring good for all, doing good for all, believing in good for all. Then we cannot hope too much, neither plan nor dare too much. For the one who loves and does good is working with God, and to work with God is to be safe forever. End of chapter, and also the end of the reading of the book titled Change Your Life Through Love. My dear one, hopefully you've enjoyed this book. Leave me your comments. Please do hit that like button, share this with your friends, and if you like what you hear and what you see on this channel, please do subscribe.